Now, what landed you into prison exactly?
What actually landed me in prison was a informant working on my case.
Mm-hmm.
That's what actually landed me in prison.
What was the actual charge?
Trafficking in cocaine.
Now, when you initially get charged, you go to jail. Was there a bond?
Yes, initially there was a bond.
Able to bond out?
Yeah, I bonded out, yeah.
Mm. And did they give you a plea deal? Did you take it to trial? How did it play out before the prison sentence?
Well, actually, I was out on bond for close to 2 years, and before I decided to take it to trial, I never heard a plea deal with my case. Just went straight to trial.
You went straight to trial.
Correct.
And how long did the trial take?
It was a 5-day trial.
And you lost.
Yeah, I was found guilty.
And what was the actual sentence?
The actual sentence was a 4-year sentence. 4-year sentence.
Now, when you hear the verdict, what's going through your head? You're reading it out loud. What are you thinking?
When they read the verdict, the very first thought that ran through my head was, "Thank you, God." Thank
Why?
you, God. That was the very first.
I never heard somebody say that before.
I think at the time I needed it. I needed to hear guilty.
Mm.
I was moving way too fast, doing way too much, especially at that time.
I have heard people say something like that before.
Just, you got to be true to yourself.
What was your family's reaction?
When they said guilty, I was the only one in the courtroom at the time.
Oh.
So I didn't get the family's reaction right then and there.
How soon was sentencing after the verdict?
Let's see. Verdict was 27. Sentencing probably took 2 weeks after the verdict. And then about a month and a half after that, I was in prison.
Now, when they say, when they give you the guilty verdict, they take you right back to jail? Until you reach sentencing? Is that how it works?
Well, depending on the charge, the judge is supposed to be able to grant you a furlough to take care of your business affairs prior to them detaining you. But in my case, no, I didn't have that opportunity.
Oh, so they do take you to jail?
Yeah, they put me in handcuffs and that was it. They took me right to jail.
Now, you knew you were going to get this 4 years, or was there a chance of you getting more than 4 years?
Yes, it could be anywhere with this charge, anywhere from 3 to 15 years. The state asked for 8 years. And I had 4 people speak up for me at my sentencing, so it seemed like they dropped off a year for every person that spoke at the sentencing, because 4 people spoke.
I see. And you had to do all 4 years, or was there any chance of you maybe with good time, or?
No, I got good time. I got like 7 months, almost 8 months of good time.
Okay.
So I was able to get out there as early as possible.
I see. So you did how much time exactly?
3 years and real close to 4 months, about 1,200 in about 11 days.
I see. Now, where were you stationed, prison-wise?
Franklin County. I was in Belle Glade, Palm Beach County.
So this was state, not federal?
Right, this was state. Rayford, Florida, and Opelika as well.
Now, what level of these state institutions? I know it can get as far as level 3, if I'm not mistaken, as far as security, that sort of thing.
Not really. It goes. It's bigger than. It goes deeper than that too.
Explain.
But There's like it's like max. There's more levels. It's not just 3.
I thought like federal prison was up to 5 levels.
It just depends on the type of prison they send you to. Like this was my first charge, and this was a trafficking charge. So the very first prison they sent me to, I wasn't expecting to go there because they sent me to a prison where it was heavy with gangs, of course, and you got people that's doing time, and then you have a first timer basically, and they're sending him way up there when they truthfully wasn't supposed to send you way up there.
No way to get up out of that?
Nah, not in the beginning. Not in the beginning.
Now, first time in prison, first day in prison, first night in prison. What was that like? What was going through your head? Take us back to that moment.
First day in prison. Every day in prison you want to go home. First day in prison, like the last day in prison, you still ready to go home. You're anxious. It's terrible though. All the days, one moment is too many moments.
Was it intimidating for you? First day, first night?
I wouldn't say intimidating.
Nervous?
Nah, it's just new. It's a new surrounding. You know what I'm saying? So it's gonna take a moment to adapt, no matter what. But I wouldn't say nervous or intimidating. It's just a situation. It is what it is.
You did 3 years and some change. How did you pass this time?
I wrote some music. You know, spoke to certain people once every week on the telephone. You know, my mother, my son helped me pass the time real well. A couple friends, a couple people I consider my family members helped me pass the time. But, you know, when you so far up the road and there's so many rules and regulations, actually being able to get to somebody on the telephone, you know, when you do finally get somebody on the telephone, you only get a 15-minute phone call, so you kind of got to, you know, make everything quicker.
Did you study your case? Did you have a chance to study your case?
Yeah, I studied it. In studying, you find out a lot of different laws in Florida. Like Florida is the only state where entrapment is valid. And this is why the percentage rate of drug offenders is so high in the state of Florida, because there's no such thing as entrapment. So the police can use an informant against you, and it just be his word, and that's valid. So that's kind of crazy right there, a little brazy.
Were there thoughts of appealing this, or the sentence that you had, or because the sentence was short in a sense of, you know, 4 years, it wasn't worth appealing?
I tried to appeal it, they denied me.
Oh, you did try.
Yeah, I was denied. And that's tough. Waiting all that time to get approved and you get denied. Yeah.
Now, when you were going to try to do the appeal, were you going to use the same attorney or the help of the same attorney?
No, when I did the appeal, I was going to get a different attorney. But it didn't work out that way.
Just curious, too, speaking of attorneys, how confident was this original attorney you had going into this? Was he thinking you'd be able to beat this in trial, or how did he feel?
I don't know. I feel like the attorney kind of let me drown in the water. That's how I feel. Like my attorney let me drown in the water. You know, he had his valid points throughout the trial and the things that he was arguing, but I feel like he threw me to the wolves. Personally.
If you could do it all over again, I'm assuming you would have chosen a different attorney?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Now, you mentioned rapping inside prison. Were you just writing lyrics? Were you battling other people? Were you freestyling with other people? Were you just keeping this to yourself? How did you go about your rap career while you were locked up?
Well, no, we're writing shared lyrics, you know, write them in different folders and different books and keep opportunities open with the music. And as far as battling, nah, never battling nobody in prison, nah. But as far as the music goes, just as far as the music goes, you just got to keep on making good music, you know, no matter what.
Did you end up using any of those songs you wrote or lyrics that you wrote when you got out and went back into the free world? Or?
Yeah, absolutely.
I've done interviews with some people that have done time, and they trash everything they did, or they, I don't know, they just don't use anything that they wrote while they were locked up in the free world. And then I've done interviews with the exact opposite. Some people use some of the stuff they wrote and that sort of thing.
Yeah, we're gonna do what's necessary. We're definitely gonna do what's necessary.
How many songs do you think you used?
Up to this point, probably about 4 or 5. And well, we've only had time to stop at home for a minute in the last 30 days since I've been out of prison. So we probably did up to about 20 songs and some change in about a few days' time that I've been at the house.
And that'll be another conversation we'll discuss in a little bit.
Absolutely.
Okay, somebody watching this about to go in for their first time into prison. And circumstances could be different for everybody, whatever prison they go to. But generally speaking, what are some do's and don'ts inside prison?
Some do's. Stay busy. Keep your mind going. Have something to keep your mind going. Don'ts. Don't be too friendly. You know. Don't be too friendly.
What's an example of being too friendly? Somebody might not know the distinction here.
Being too friendly, like, you know, thinking you know everybody. Just because you see somebody that you thought you knew from the corner or whatever the case is, you know, that's a whole other world. So they might be unapproachable in that world, you know.
I see. Now, you mentioned earlier when we were talking about state and federal prisons, they sent you in a prison with a lot of gangs. Can one survive being in prison without joining a gang?
It's possible. But, you know, nowadays everybody feels like they have a need or a want of something specific. So you have people that chase that. You have people that chase money. You have people that chase women. Everybody's chasing something different, especially in prison. So, you know, I don't knock anybody's hustle or whatever they got going on, as long as they're going hard and they're doing the right thing.
But it is possible.
Yeah.
Now, did you have to fight in prison?
Personally, no, I didn't.
How were you able to avoid a prison fight, which is very common?
It's not about avoiding it. It's just about, you know, when you're doing your own thing, you really don't have to worry about much. Because you're on your own time.
Ever close to being in a fight or a part of a fight, or?
Yeah. I say it been some times where, you know, it almost happened, but then you have to evaluate the situation. You know, if I get into this trouble, then I'm gonna get my time pushed back, and I'm trying to leave as soon as possible. So, you know, you gotta suck in your pride, swallow that, and you gotta make sure you're doing the right thing. You always gotta be the bigger man in the situation. That's how you learn patience, especially for what's going on in this business.
Now, what about solitary confinement? They call that the hole as well. Did you have to ever do any of that?
Nah, I never been to the box.
Able to avoid that too?
Absolutely.
While you were locked up, craziest thing you seen while locked up?
A man gets sliced from ear to ear. That happened. Lock a sock, suitcases, all kind of things happen.
Suitcases, what's that? I've never heard of it.
Suitcases is a human mule. They use,
Oh.
yeah, they bring stuff in and out of the prison.
I see. What about rape?
That happens all the time.
That does.
Yes, it does.
I've heard that, and again, I've talked to different prisoners, people that have done prison time, state, federal. Most of the people that I've talked to, they've said that's kind of like an old thing. That's seen in the movies and stuff. That doesn't really happen these days anymore because there are gay people that are locked up, and if you want it, you can get it. You wouldn't have to rape somebody, but you see the opposite.
I've seen it on both ends of the stick. So, you know, whichever way you want to lean with it, that's how it's gonna go.
But it still happens.
Mm-hmm. The thing about it is, it's gonna happen no matter what, whether they want it or not. It's kind of like a lot of people put themselves in a position, and this happens. It's not a secret. It was gonna happen. But now you're acting like it was a secret. It was gonna happen. But you knew what you were getting yourself into before you stepped into that water. That's how I feel like it. So you know, you got people that do the darndest things.
Now, back to that person that was sliced from ear to ear. Was he okay? Did he end up surviving, or did he pass away from that?
Nah, he didn't pass away, not that I know of, but he got sliced, picking on somebody. He was picking on somebody and he sliced him.
So he was bullying somebody, and the person that was being bullied stood up against him?
Yeah, well, he didn't personally. Some younger dudes came to his rescue type of thing.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that show on television called Lock Up?
Lock Up. What channel is it on?
MSNBC.
Okay, I've heard of it.
Heard of it, never seen it.
No, I don't think I've ever seen it.
Because I was curious if that was an accurate depiction of prison or not.
What you see on TV, the picture that's painted on TV, it's nothing like what's really happening. It's worse than what they show on TV.
Explain.
The things that they show on TV, they're not exaggerated as far as the actions or acts that are exaggerated and what's going on with the situations in prison. So that's the big difference right there.
You talked about your mom, you talked about your son. They kept most of your time, along with rapping and some other things. Did these two people keep you motivated while you were locked up, or was it something else that kept you motivated?
Motivation came from different areas. Self-motivation, what you just asked about, that's another alleyway. Of course, my son, you know, and just wanting to strive to be the best that I could be as a person. That's where the motivation comes from, too.
Some prisoners don't like visitation. Some prisoners like visitation. I'm guessing you were a type that liked visitation with family?
It was good to have, bring you back home for a few minutes, you know, when you're 400, 500 miles from home. Any visitation is good, as long as somebody came and seen you, right?
Who saw you the most?
My mother.
Now, El Chapo, he escaped prison twice. I know you didn't have that much time, but did you ever have thoughts on breaking out?
Nah.
Because the time was so little?
Yeah. And not only that, I'm just there to do my time and leave. Everything else is uncivilized.
Did people try to escape?
There was some dudes actually escaped from the first prison that I went to. Yeah, but they caught up to them a couple weeks later, but you know, they got out the door, got free.
Now, you mentioned 3 different locations that you were during your time.
Mm-hmm.
One might ask, why so many different locations?
Well, you bounce around, especially when you're doing like good adjustment transfer and things like that.